Thanks for listening to Live Forever Young Radio. Roughly 1 in 5 of the 2.7 million Americans deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan since 2001 are experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder. Today, Bob and Rollie talk about an ongoing study by the peteffect.org that is looking at whether or not service dogs can help veterans with depression and anxiety. They also share a great book by Cory and David Cifu called Overcoming Post-Deployment Syndrome. Bob and Rollie identify some easy-to-use techniques to help overcome anxiety and depression and get you back to living your best life. So sit back, relax, and get ready to live forever young.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Live Forever Young Radio. And whether you're watching on YouTube or listening, here we are. I'm Bob Gilpatrick. I'm here with Rollie Culp.
How's it going, Bob?
Going well, Rollie. Love the hat.
Yeah, man. I got a new T-shirt. My wife got this in a contest. It's a playoffs. It's whoever's in the playoffs this year. So
cool.
On the back, number 1 is Tampa Bay Lightning. We all know they're going to win. But I just have to, represent the NHL as well. Excellent. All the teams they're not as good as the Lightning, but they have a shot, I guess.
Yeah, they have an outside chance. It's the Lightning against the field.
Yeah,
right.
All those other teams are probably very anxious because of the fact that they have to go battle the Lightning. But one of the things we're going to be talking about today is a really cool study we found. There's some really cool things going on in the world with veterans. What we're looking at doing is saving the mental health of veterans, and there's this really cool study that's been done. It's about how service dogs can help serve veterans by helping them reduce anxiety and depression. Really kind of staggering statistic. We were looking this up, and about 1 in 5 of 2.7 million Americans who've been deployed and in Iraq and Afghanistan since 2001 have come back with PTSD, post-traumatic stress.
Post-traumatic stress disorder.
Right.
Yeah.
Now,
so Rollie, that disorder is actually, PTSD. It's like a stress disorder that has certain characteristics. There's also an overarching description that they call post-deployment syndrome. Right? And so people might not have technically PTSD, but they might have other things going on from being deployed, including maybe being seriously injured physically, and they might have an amputation. They might have a head injury.
I've seen people with burns, on
things
their
like
body.
that are part of post-deployment syndrome, and as a result, they might have, post-traumatic stress disorder also.
Yeah, and it's kind of like we all know that post-traumatic stress comes from life-threatening and traumatic events, and there's probably nothing more traumatic and life-threatening than going to war. So these guys need our help, and what's really cool is the peteffect.org is the name of the organization that is actually doing this study, and then their main focus is to see if by giving veterans who've served our country proudly that have PTSD a service dog or a companion, if that'll help with these feelings of anxiety and depression and the reacclimation into civilian society. So far, the studies are good. The information's good. It's showing that a lot of the veterans who have the PTSD diagnosed are feeling a lot less depressed and anxious simply because of the fact they have a companion. And what's really cool is they're actually able to go to work more often. They're able to be more productive because they're not having so much of the depression and anxiety and panic attacks that they're used to post-deployment. So that's pretty cool. And
the issue with work, Raul, we see through our nonprofit Project Transition USA, focuses on helping people in the work aspect. So when people are in the military for many years, sometimes over 30 years, and they're then leaving the military, they're about to retire, they now need to learn a new set of skills in order to successfully begin to navigate the civilian world, especially in the world of work, because they have to be able to translate their skills in the military with all the codes and everything into what it means in the civilian world. And they also have to gain access to things like LinkedIn, which help them to become visible to employers. They need to be able to learn to network. And so there are companies like Star, based in Tampa, that do networking events for veterans to help them get matched up with mentors, to help them get their first job. And with Project Transition, which I'm on the board of directors of for almost 10 years now, right from when it first started, we do trainings on the Air Force Base, the local Air Force Base. But because it's the home of Central Command and Special Operations Command, members from all the branches of the military come through our training, which lasts all day.
Wow.
And we've trained about 5,000 people so far. And there's actually a LinkedIn group called Project Transition USA.
I was going to say the best place to find that is on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
And the group name again was?
Project Transition USA.
Right. And if you guys want to see a little bit more information, obviously check out the LinkedIn profile, but you can get some more information on boomerboost.com. We have the How Boomers Gives Back section, and it's on the homepage. If you go down about 2/3 of the way, you'll see there's a couple of organizations that we're affiliated with, and Project Transition USA is one of them. It's right on the front page. So, like, one of the funny things, too, is there's this great study that shows this is going to help with vets, and it's a really good thing. But we kind of have, if you guys remember from one of our other shows, Managing Stress and Anxiety During Trying Times, we have our own office dog, Zayla, a standard poodle, gorgeous dog. And I have to admit, I could be sitting there really frustrated because of something I'm trying to write or an email that I didn't want to get, but I got, or whatever. And she comes in with her poofy hair. And that frustration, just like, oh, hey, look at the dog, come here, So, yeah, I could definitely understand how that would work. And what they're also finding is the things that the service dogs specifically are helping the vets with are things like interruption of anxiety attacks throughout the day. And a lot of that comes from kind of like, we get sitting there, something hits us and we get frustrated. But for someone with PTSD, that's a lot more of a debilitating thing, and it keeps them from being productive. It keeps them from moving forward. So by having something there to grab onto and love on, like a dog, it allows them to get that out of their head faster and move on to the next thing. So that's one of the things. Another thing that they were saying in the study is the feeling of agoraphobia. Like when you go out into a social setting and you're say you're in the aisle at the grocery store, and they're used to having to watch their backs, right? And without a dog or a companion, they're like kind of out in the cold all alone. But there's this sense of security. They were saying when they have a dog next to them, it's kind of like the dog's got your back, so nobody can sneak up on you. So it's kind of a sense of confidence and security that they instill. And similar in that manner is the minimization of panic attacks that vets usually that's something that comes on by a trigger, a loud noise or something like that. Yeah. And so they can help with that by kind of minimizing it, letting them take the focus off of whatever was causing that feeling. So that's pretty cool.
I heard that it also showed a reduction in their cortisol levels.
Yes, and that's one thing Bob loves, because we hate cortisol. Cortisol is the stress hormone.
Yeah, well, in too high of amounts at the wrong time of the day, it's a stress hormone. Your body needs cortisol to live, but cortisol rises and falls throughout the day, and you want it to be at the right amount during the nighttime and the right amount during the day. But when you're under a lot of stress, especially during the day, you end up with way too much cortisol. And so it's very damaging to your body because it creates inflammation.
Oh, and we know, we talk about inflammation. And if you don't know about inflammation, you can check out our podcast, Managing Chronic Inflammation. There's tons of it on there. So, but one of the good things that with the fact that you have this reduction in cortisol, it allows you to be calmer. And one of the other really cool things is the veterans say their relationships with loved ones are better because they're more patient. Right? And they're able to communicate more effectively because they're not as stressed out, if there's some sort of stress that's coming.
So it goes well with nonviolent communication.
Right? Yes.
So the pet will make you more calm, less cortisol. And we also can direct people to the podcast on nonviolent communication.
Yeah, how to use nonviolent communication. We just released it about 2 or 3 weeks ago. It's very helpful.
So the combination of those two things could really make the relationships go to the next level.
Yeah, and when you're also transitioning into a new workplace, as a veteran would be, there's a whole bunch of relationships that you probably wouldn't even have the ability to deal with in a normal setting if you were dealing with PTSD. So the ability to use NVC in coordination with the service dog to kind of make that communication better, understanding how to do your job and what other people at your job need is key when you're transitioning and back into like the work life as a civilian,
Absolutely. And people, they say people are happiest when they have friends and a job.
Yeah.
Right. And so having friends is made easier when you have less anxiety and you have better communication skills. And so this type of information about service dogs can be really helpful. And some people can't get a service dog for whatever reason, or they don't want one. They don't want to care for a dog like
living
that.
situations too. You might not be able to have one.
We made another podcast on the emotional freedom technique.
Yes,
Tapping.
we did. It's called Tap Away Stress and Anxiety.
Right.
And we go over the technique. And that would be something that you could really use if you were finding yourself in that state. Was for some reason you couldn't have a service dog or whatever the case is. That's we would talk about. It's a way to kind of tap into that subconscious anxiety that you're always dealing with and reset it.
Reset it. And, tapping also works with your pets. So if your pet has anxiety, you can actually do tapping with your pet.
I forgot you told me that. Yeah. That's right. You tap on their little...
Works really well.
And you give them that nice reassuring voice that they like to hear. And that's funny. I forgot about that.
But the book we were talking about earlier, it's called Overcoming Post-Deployment Syndrome. Cory Blake and David Cifu, right? Or Cifu. Maybe. Cifu.
CIFU.
Yep, CIFU. Dr. Cifu is a renowned physician from up in Virginia who specializes in caring for veterans in all of their post-deployment syndrome needs.
Wow.
And he cares for people with head traumas, amputations, and he's really big into holistic health.
Good.
So he recommends that people use all the different kinds of things that we're talking about here today. He knows that it's very challenging for the mental health side of things, equal to some of the physical challenges. And so that's a really, really great book for people to get if you are a veteran, or if you know someone who's a veteran, you want to better understand what they're going through and what you can do
to help.
To help.
And that's called Overcoming Post-Deployment Syndrome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah, you can get it on Amazon.
Yeah, actually, I think I saw it on there. It was regularly $12.99, but they got like a used version for like $4.19.
Yeah, I have one at home. I've been reading it, and it's really good. He has other books too, but they're more medical oriented. He created actually an entire model for physicians and institutions to follow in analyzing, diagnosing, and treating people with post-deployment syndrome. Very detailed medical resources.
Wow.
But the book Overcoming is a small book that's more for lay people.
Okay.
Whereas these other books are for
easier read.
Medical
Put it in the terms we can understand, right? Anyway, I that's what I wanted to share. I thought it was really cool. Don't really have much more to go over, but I do want you guys to check out the study that we're talking about. We'll put some links down to it at the bottom of the blog. ThePetEffect.org. Yes, ThePetEffect.org is the place to go. And again, we'll have the link at the bottom. Another thing would be, guys, check out Project Transition USA, LinkedIn, Project Transition USA.
Yeah, that's the website also.
That's the website.
If you want to go to that.
.com.
If you're on LinkedIn, just type in the search Project Transition USA.
Yeah, and this is important, man, because these people who were out fighting for our freedom and doing all this so we could be here doing this and share this with you, we owe them, so go check it out, support it, and thanks for listening, you guys.
Yeah, thanks everyone for watching and listening to Live Forever Young Radio, and we will see you on the next show.
Thanks for listening to Live Forever Young Radio. Check us out at liveforeveryoungradio.com.